back, guys. It's Bob. Welcome to Modern Life for the 70s Mind and Bob's Cabinet of Curiosities. If you've been to my channel before and you see some of my videos, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's really nice of you guys. If you're new and you get through this video and you realize that you like it, please click the subscribe button and also the notification icon. That way you'll be notified anytime I release some new content and you'll be up to date on everything that we're doing here. Today we are going to be discussing something that I don't know if you guys are even familiar with. They're called Stylus Pressure Gauges. This has to do with turntables. So if you're into turntables, you might already know about these. I found them intriguing because I have 5 different Stylus pressure gauges here, and each one is like completely different. It's like they couldn't agree on a certain way to do this, so they've come up with all different ways of measuring the pressure. Now, a Stylus pressure gauge is used to determine the stylus tracking force. The tracking force is the downward pressure that is applied by the weight of the tone arm through the cartridge stylus and onto the vinyl record. The stylus is basically the needle. So to keep it in simple terms, it's just how much pressure is being put onto the record via the needle. As a kid, I could care less about it because if my record skipped, I would literally scotch tape some pennies onto the top of the tone arm. And at some point you reached enough weight on the needle that the record just wouldn't skip anymore. So probably not the best thing for records or for the cartridge or the needle, but that's what I did. And it seemed to work. And I never had any issues with it. So we are going to start with the first of 5 Stylus pressure gauges. This is a Girard model SPG3. Now right up here, I will be posting some pictures when I put this video together ultimately, so that you'll be able to see kind of a close-up of what I'm talking about. So this one is kind of important to look at the top of it. And I'll talk you through it, and again, there'll be a picture right up here, so you'll be able to see it. So you would set this gauge, there's numbers that run across the top on this black wheel, and you would set it to whatever weight that you'd want. Usually it's in grams, so I set it at 2 grams. Now also on the top, there's a line on the clear plastic cover here. There's a little line right in the middle, and on the black ring right above it, there's a red indicator. I don't know if you can see that. As I'm moving it, you might be able to see it. So what you want to do is you set the needle actually on this arm right here, and when the red indicator matches up with the line on the plastic, you got the perfect weight. So if it's too heavy and it's reading 3 when you want 2, you would just have to go to the tone arm, lighten the weight on it, and then that would adjust this, and then you'll ultimately get to 2 grams, and that would be what your setting should be. Most of these settings would come directly from the manufacturer, so if you had a turntable, you would just refer to that, and they would tell you what the Stylus pressure gauge should be. So this was kind of a fancy one, and Girard back in the day was a well-known company, so I'm sure many of these were sold. Okay, this next one is also a Girard, but it works a little differently. This is, I don't know if they got a model. This is a Stylus pressure gauge for microgroove pickups. So what this one was, you would set the needle on this arm here, and then you would press down. All right. Now this is the spot here where you're going to be looking for all the action. There's a line going right down the center of this thing, and as you push down, there's an indicator in that hole. And what you'd want to do is get it so that indicator lines up exactly with that line. And I'm hoping that the picture that I put up in the corner will give you an indication what I'm talking about. And when that lines up, you would look where you have this here, and that'll tell you what the pressure is on it. So if it's too heavy, you would lighten it up. You would put the tone arm back on here. You would check it again. You'd mark this to the center, and you would see how heavy that is. A little different, a little more manual, but all the same, it worked. And being a Girard product, I'm sure they were pretty accurate because they were pretty picky about their products. This next one is a Calrad Stylus pressure gauge, PG22. This one was even almost more archaic. In the off season, you could use it as a Christmas ornament. All you would do here, you would set the stylus right here, and there's a gauge right up on top, really simple. It'll tell you what the weight is. So you would put the needle on it. If it was too heavy, you take it off, lighten up the tone arm, put it back on, and you'd eventually get exactly what you want. Again, this is all in, I believe it's in grams. That seemed to be the way everyone measured. So that's a cal, looks like a CalRad is what it says. All right, this next one is, I don't know if I like it. It's a Shure. Shure was actually, from what I recall, that was a pretty good name back then. And this is a Stylus Gauge SFG-2. This, what makes this unique, there's actually two different spots that you could set the needle. And this is basically like a teeter-totter on here. Obviously, if you go to the outside, it doesn't take as much to raise this. If you move to the inside one, it takes a little bit more more weight to push it up. It's all about leverage, people. So what you would do, you would set this to whatever you want here. There's a gauge here, and you would set this little indicator to it. And there is a black end on this piece. Gosh, I wish I could. There's a black end on this piece, and there's a black piece on this base part. You want those two to basically line up. So once they start up, it starts, which way does it start? It starts down, and then when you put the weight on it, it'll balance out. So once this indicator, bear with me here. Okay, so once this right here, those two are at the same height, then you got the exact weight. This, I don't like at all. It just seems sloppy. I wouldn't have a lot of confidence in it, but it's called a precision stylus gauge, so I'm guessing that it worked well. It just, I don't like it at all. This last one, it was a little interesting. It kind of used the same concept as this one I just went over, is that there's two different points you can put the needle. Again, because of leverage, if you put it on the high end, it's a lot easier to push this down, because it's really easy to push down here. It's not so easy to push it down from here. So there's two different gauges on here, and depending upon where you set the needle, you would either use the upper contact or the lower contact. The upper contact was in grams. The lower contact was in ounces. So this was also a Clarkson. I don't have a model number. So, oh, it's a model 301. So again, another Stylus pressure gauge. All these things were so different, and I guess they just couldn't agree on a certain format to weigh the needle pressure. So that was it. There are more. There's plenty more. I went through a little stage where I was just collecting every Stylus pressure gauge I could. I actually think I have another one somewhere. I just couldn't find it, so you're stuck only looking at 5. But if you're into vinyl records and if you have a turntable, you might find these interesting. And if you are a person that used these things, let me know how they worked. And if you feel that they made a difference when playing your record, I assume that with the correct stylus pressure, the longevity of the record and the needle would probably be extended by quite a bit. I always opted on the heavier side for some reason. I just did. But anyways, all right. So those are Stylus pressure gauges, and I made it through this without having to cut the tape and start over. Yay me. All right, guys. If you like this and you found it interesting, please click the subscribe button and the thumbs up button. I would really appreciate it. And if you're looking for more videos of the Cabinet of Curiosities, there will be a link at the end of this one. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Peace out, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.